Talks with T and Shez.
Hello and good afternoon. It's absolutely lovely to be with you. Hope you're enjoying your cup of tea or your biscuit or your sandwich, whatever you're doing at this lunchtime period. So, welcome to Limitless Talks with T and Shez. Now, it's quite obvious to see, but I'm missing T today. She's usually right there on my side, joining in with this conversation. But unfortunately, due to circumstances outside of our control, she's not able to join us. But miss you. So, in weeks gone, we have been talking about an array of things to do with success, setting our goals, making them plain, and being able to achieve aspects in life that sometimes we struggle with based on procrastination. We talked about setting resolutions and ways of achieving those. So we've gone into quite a bit, but today I'm just giving a brief introduction because without T here, it's just not the same. It's just not the same. So I'm not going to delve in too deeply with you. So I'll be only here for a short time, I think. Should only be here for a short time, but just to kind of give a brief introduction into our next topic, which moves quite nicely with everything else we've been talking about. So we're going to look at culture. Now, a lot of people, when I say the word culture, things might come to mind about what that means to them, which is rightly so, because culture is about looking at different people, and different people, there's going to be thousands of different ways that people think and people see the world. And that's exactly what culture is. It's very unique to the person who's actually experiencing it in whatever way, shape, or form. Now, let me just give a definition just to kind of home it in a little bit more. So, culture is a system of beliefs that helps us to act in an acceptable or a familiar way. So within my family, we might have a set of cultural behaviors which we naturally do, and it works within my family setting. However, if I go into the workplace, there's going to be a work culture which some of my family behaviors might not fit in there as well. So as a result, I may need to adjust to fit into that work culture. Also, you know, being a Christian, we always talk about this, there's a church culture. So within my church setting, there might be certain behaviors or certain things that I do, which is more acceptable within that setting. And, you know, the list can go on. You go to school, those of you who are in studying in school or university, there's a certain way that we conduct ourselves to fit into the culture of that environment. But all in all, culture is so vast. It's so I just love it because I love exploring the way different people think and why they think that way. Maybe because of their own personal experiences. We might perceive the world a certain way because of what we've gone through. Now, like I said, culture is not static. It's constantly moving. I've just explained that quite, you know, already about sometimes you go into different places and you might behave a certain or different way because it's not static. It's not something that I can put into a museum and say, this is the culture. This is, if you look at this picture here, you will see the culture of this person. And that, but it can't be because it is constantly changing. And culture belongs to people. So it can't be put on display. So if you're out there, I want you just to think about your culture. Think about things which you have lived in and what is your norms? What is your social norms within your perimeters of your family, your social norms within your workplace, your social norms within your business? And just think about how you adapt when you go into new environments. Do you naturally just switch and change to fit in with that environment, or do you bring elements of yourself to enhance that environment you've gone into? Now, also just thinking about that, I want you just to explore the barriers that we might have because of culture. Some barriers that might hit in now, that because of your age, that could be a cultural barrier. Your gender, your race, your education, your demographic, your social class. Um, Sometimes the way you look can create a barrier in terms of culture, the way you communicate. Our perceptions often is there because of a cultural ideal that we have set in our minds. Naturally, when we talk about culture, a lot of people just start thinking, oh, if you talk about culture, that means you're talking about colour, you're talking about race. And no, it's not that. It's far more than that. And over the next couple of weeks, we will be discussing it and really breaking it down, mainly focused on how culture affects us moving forward, how our culture affects the way that we set our goals. You know, let me just say this before I leave. I, I say, and I've said it a couple of weeks now, that I'm naturally a people pleaser. Now, based on your perceptions and how that reflects to you, that's going to draw up an image on your head of who I am based on that. If I say I'm a stay at home mom, based on what you have experienced within your culture parameters, that might bring up an image of who I am in your head based on what I've just said. If I say I'm a wife, that again is going to conjure up all these things in your mind based on your experience of that within your personal culture, within your kind of areas. And that's exactly what it's like when you're entering into new spaces. We have a perception of what that looks like. Now, for me, if I say people pleaser, I automatically feel like, I'm a person who likes to empower others, who encourages, who supports. Another person might think, oh, people pleaser, that means she's always leaning to support others. And, regardless of who or her own opinions, she's always pleasing others. That means she doesn't really have much of a backbone. That's based on their opinions. So it's very interesting. And we'll be picking away at that. And I'm really looking forward to having those discussions with T and with others, because we're going to be inviting guests along to join us, because, me and T have our own cultures. And as much as we're both classed as African Caribbeans, British African Caribbeans, reality is we're not the same, because I have a way of living based on the way my parents brought me up. And she will have a way of living based on the way she was brought up. So our cultures will differ, our mindsets will differ. We're also at a different age. But we recognize that we're going to be limited, and we want to have an array of experiences where you all can connect with. So please flash up your questions and put your comments down. Some of the things I mentioned already, any questions that come to your mind, just put those in the comments, and we would love to address that, and anything else that, might conjure up in your mind when we say the word culture and diversity. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. God bless, guys. So I can see that Jonathan's not ending this. I can't see any comments, unfortunately, because I'm not the one in control. But I know that it should be ending very soon. And if it's not, I will just keep talking. So how is everybody doing? What's been going on? In fact, how have the conversations so far, how have you been able to reflect on them? How have you used some of the tips that we've had so far? How have they impacted on your life? What have you been able to say, actually, I'm going to do that? And what measures have you